The massive crystalline dome of the Galactic Council chamber sparkled like a captured star, its translucent walls stretching impossibly high above the assembled delegates. Holographic displays flickered around the circular amphitheater, showing star charts, trade routes, and the ominous red zone that had puzzled the galaxy's greatest minds for over 3 centuries. Ambassador Vextar of the Hegemony slammed his scaled fist against the podium, his 4 golden eyes blazing with frustration. The reptilian diplomat's neck frills flared as he addressed the thousands of alien representatives floating, sitting and hovering in their specialized atmospheric pods. Esteemed colleagues, we gather here today to address the greatest mystery our galaxy has ever known. Vextar's voice boomed through the chamber's translation matrix. For 300 standard years, the sector designated as human territory has remained completely impenetrable. Not one ship, not one probe, not even our most advanced reconnaissance drones have returned from that cursed region of space. Murmurs rippled through the assembly like waves across a disturbed ocean. The aquatic delegation gurgled in their water-filled spheres, while the silicon-based crystalline beings chimed in harmonic frequencies that made the very air vibrate. In the upper galleries, the winged Aryan representatives folded their massive wings tighter against their bodies, a sign of deep concern among their species. A holographic star map materialized above the assembly, showing the spiral arm where human space allegedly existed. The region appeared as a perfect sphere of emptiness on their sensors, as if reality itself had been carved away and replaced with nothing. Our most recent attempt, Vextar continued, his voice growing more intense, involved the scientific vessel Quantum Dawn, crewed by our finest xenobiologists and equipped with technology that can peer into the heart of stars. It crossed the boundary of human space exactly 47 days ago. Since then, complete silence. Elder Counselor Morden slowly rose from his meditation alcove, his ancient form requiring the assistance of a gravity manipulation device. The elderly being belonged to one of the oldest species in the galaxy, his people having achieved interstellar travel when most civilizations were still discovering fire. His weathered skin bore the scars of 1,000 battles, and his eyes held the wisdom of millennia. Young Ambassador, Morden's voice wheezed through his breathing apparatus, perhaps we should consider that some doors are meant to remain closed. The ancient archives speak of warnings left by species that predate even my own people. They called humans the sleeping giants and advised all who would listen to let them rest undisturbed. Vextar's laugh echoed harshly through the chamber. Superstition and fairy tales, honored elder. We command fleets that can crack planets like eggs. Our technology allows us to manipulate the very fabric of space and time. We have conquered death itself and spread our civilizations across 10,000 worlds. What could one primitive species, trapped on a single world, possibly do to threaten us? The Hive Queen of the Zephyrian Collective buzzed her disagreement from her massive organic throne. The human broadcasts we intercepted decades ago showed a species barely capable of crude chemical rockets. Their weapons were primitive projectile launchers. Their technology was laughably simple. Exactly my point, Vextar gestured dramatically. We're talking about a species that hadn't even achieved faster-than-light travel when we last observed them. Meanwhile, we've built an interstellar civilization spanning half the galaxy. The mathematics simply don't add up. Commander Thex of War. The military coalition stepped forward, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming under the chamber's lights. The ambassador raises valid tactical concerns. From a strategic standpoint, this human mystery represents a significant intelligence gap. Any unknown factor in our galactic security matrix must be investigated and catalogued. The debate raged. For hours, species after species presented their arguments, their fears, their theories about what might exist in human space. Some suggested the humans had simply died out, leaving behind automated defense systems. Others proposed that a more advanced alien species had claimed human territory and was using it as a base of operations. As the discussion reached its crescendo, Vextar called for order. Distinguished delegates, we stand at a crossroads. We can continue to live in ignorance and fear, or we can face this mystery with the combined might of our civilizations. I propose Operation Revelation, a joint expedition featuring our most advanced vessels and our greatest scientific minds. The voting process began immediately. One by one, species after species cast their approval. The Silicon Confederacy voted yes with a crystalline chime. The Aquatic Union bubbled their agreement. The Mechanical Consciousness transmitted their consent in binary code. Even the traditionally neutral gas giant collectives agreed to participate. When the final tally appeared, in blazing holographic numbers, the result was undeniable. Every single member species had voted in favor of the expedition. Operation Revelation would launch within one galactic cycle, bringing together the finest ships, the most brilliant minds, and the most advanced technology from 12 different civilizations. As the assembly began to disperse, Elder Morden remained in his alcove, staring at the star map with ancient, worried eyes. In the depths of his vast memory, he recalled fragments of warnings from species long extinct, cautionary, tales about humans that most had dismissed as myth, but Morden remembered, and he was afraid. The greatest armada in galactic history was about to discover why no one dared cross into human space. The edge of the Sol system looked like any other frontier in space, dark, cold, and seemingly empty, except for the distant glow of a yellow star that the humans called their sun. But appearances in space were always deceiving, and the massive alien armada was about to learn this lesson the hard way. 12 different species had contributed their finest vessels to Operation Revelation. The hegemony's dreadnought Eternal Dominion stretched over 3 kilometers long, its hull bristling with plasma cannons that could melt asteroids. The crystalline ships of the Silicon Confederacy sparkled like jewels against the darkness, their energy shields creating rainbow patterns in the void. Aquatic Union vessels moved like living creatures, their biomechanical hulls pulsing with bioluminescent displays. Ambassador Vextar stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, his 4 eyes scanning the sensor readings with growing confidence. Sensor sweep shows nothing but empty space and cosmic debris. No defense platforms, no hidden bases, no massive fleet waiting to ambush us. The fleet's chief science officer, a multi-tentacled being from the oceanic depths, gurgled through his translation unit. Ambassador, our instruments are detecting some unusual energy signatures, but they're too faint to classify. They could be natural phenomena. Cosmic radiation and solar winds. Vextar dismissed with a wave of his clawed hand. Exactly what we'd expect from a primitive system. Continue forward at half speed. The armada advanced deeper into the system, their formation perfect and intimidating. 500 ships of various designs and sizes, carrying enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. The smaller scout vessels darted ahead like silver fish, their sensors probing every shadow and scanning every piece of floating rock. That's when they encountered the human ship. It appeared on their screens so suddenly that half the fleet's weapons systems automatically locked onto it. But what they saw made no sense. The vessel was tiny compared to their massive warships, maybe the size of a small frigate. Its design was clean and efficient, with smooth curves that seemed almost organic. No visible weapons, no obvious armor plating, no intimidating features at all. Commander Hyun sat in the pilot's chair of his patrol vessel, the Steadfast Guardian, watching the approaching alien fleet with calm professional interest. His ship's artificial intelligence had been tracking the intruders since they'd crossed the heliopause, and every defensive installation in the system was already aware of their presence. Incoming transmission on multiple frequencies, his AI companion reported in a pleasant female voice. They're trying every communication method known to galactic civilization. Put them through, Nari, Hyun said, using the name he'd given his AI partner years ago. The main screen flickered to life, showing the reptilian features of Ambassador Vextar. Behind him, dozens of other alien species crowded the bridge, all staring at him with mixtures of curiosity and amusement. Greetings, human. Vextar's voice carried barely concealed condescension. I am Ambassador Vextar, representing the Galactic Council. We have come to establish diplomatic relations with your species. Hyun leaned back in his chair, his expression unchanging. This is Human Defense Command. You are entering restricted space. Turn back now." The laughter that erupted from the alien bridge was like a chorus of different species expressing their amusement. Vextar's golden eyes sparkled with mirth as he gestured at the tactical display showing both fleets. "One ship against our entire armada. Human, you must be joking. We have 500 vessels, including some of the most powerful warships ever constructed. Your little patrol boat wouldn't last 10 seconds against our smallest escort." Hyun's expression remained perfectly calm, but those who knew him well would have recognized the slight tightening around his eyes. "I never joke about security. Computer, activate perimeter lighting." "Perimeter lighting activated," Nari's voice confirmed. What happened next would be recorded in the archives of every species present and studied for generations to come. The empty space around the alien fleet suddenly blazed with thousands of targeting beams. Crimson laser designators painted every single alien vessel from multiple angles, creating a web of red light that looked like the galaxy's deadliest Christmas decoration, but the light show was just the beginning. Asteroids that had been floating innocently in space suddenly split open like mechanical flowers, revealing massive weapon platforms hidden inside. The installations were works of art, as much as instruments of war, their surfaces covered in sensor arrays and weapon systems that tracked the alien fleet with mechanical precision. Stealth ships began decloaking throughout the system, their advanced camouflage systems shutting down to reveal sleek predators that had been stalking the alien fleet since they'd entered the system. Some were the size of fighters, others as large as cruisers, all designed with one purpose in mind. What the aliens had mistaken for debris fields revealed themselves to be weapon platforms, their surfaces bristling with missile launchers and energy weapons. Chunks of rock and metal reconfigured themselves into defensive installations, their hidden nature now obvious to the horrified alien observers. Space stations emerged from behind planets and moons, their massive bulk having been concealed by the natural gravity shadows of celestial bodies. Each station was a fortress in its own right, capable of manufacturing new weapons and ships even while under attack. "Sweet Nebula," whispered the Aquatic Union's commander, his tentacles trembling in his biosuit. "They've turned the entire system into a weapon." Vextar's confident smile faded as his tactical officer began reading the numbers. "Ambassador, we're detecting over 3,000 individual targeting systems. Every ship in our fleet is being tracked by at least 6 different weapon platforms. The most disturbing part wasn't the number of weapons, but their variety. Energy weapons that could strip shields in seconds, kinetic projectiles that could punch through the heaviest armor, exotic technologies that their sensors couldn't even identify. The humans had prepared for every possible type of opponent. Commander Hyun's voice cut through the stunned silence on the alien bridge. "Still want to proceed?" The silence that followed Hyun's question stretched like a taut wire ready to snap. Ambassador Vextar stared at the tactical display, showing his fleet completely surrounded, his 4 eyes darting between the thousands of targeting beams painting his ships. The other alien commanders whispered frantically among themselves, their translators creating a babble of different languages that filled the communication channels. Finally, Vextar's voice cracked slightly as he spoke. "Commander, we came here for diplomatic contact. We mean no harm to your species." Hyun studied the alien's face for a long moment, noting the genuine fear that had replaced the earlier arrogance. "Nari, stand down to passive tracking. Maintain, lock but disengage active targeting." Instantly, the crimson web of laser designators faded, though the alien sensors still detected the hidden weapons tracking their every movement. The message was clear. The humans could destroy them whenever they chose, but were offering a chance for conversation instead. "Ambassador Vexitar," Hyun continued, his tone becoming more diplomatic, "if you're truly here for peaceful contact, then I invite you and your senior staff aboard my vessel. Come alone, unarmed, and we'll talk." The suggestion sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. Commander Thex of the military coalition immediately protested over the comm. "Ambassador, this could be a trap. We know nothing about human intentions or capabilities." But Vextar had seen enough. The humans could have destroyed his entire fleet without warning, yet they chose to reveal themselves instead. It was either confidence or honor, and either way it demanded respect. 20 minutes later, a small shuttle detached from the Eternal Dominion and approached the steadfast Guardian. The alien delegation included representatives from 6 different species, each one nervous but determined, to finally meet the mysterious humans face to face. The docking bay of the human ship was unlike anything they'd expected. Where alien vessels were typically cramped and utilitarian, the human ship felt almost luxurious. The walls were a warm cream color with subtle lighting that seemed to glow from within the material itself. The air smelled clean and fresh, with hints of something the aliens couldn't identify but found oddly comforting. Hyun waited for them at the airlock, and the aliens got their first close look at a human being. He was shorter than most species in the galaxy, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to hold depths of experience. His uniform was simple but well made, and he carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had nothing to prove. "Welcome, aboard the Steadfast Guardian," Hyun said, bowing slightly in what the aliens would later learn was a traditional human greeting. "I'm Commander Hyun of the Human Defense Command. Thank you for accepting my invitation." As they walked through the ship's corridors, the alien delegation couldn't help but notice the advanced technology surrounding them. The walls themselves seemed to be some kind of smart material that could display information or change its properties as needed. Maintenance robots moved silently through hidden passages, their design so elegant they looked more like artwork than machinery. "Your ship is far more advanced than our intelligence suggested," admitted the crystalline representative, her silicon-based body chiming softly as she moved. "Our last observations of human technology showed primitive chemical rockets and basic electronics." Hyun smiled, the expression seeming genuine rather than mocking. "We've learned that it's often better to let others underestimate you. Your species made a lot of assumptions based on very old data." They entered a briefing room that was both beautiful and functional. A massive holographic display dominated one wall, currently showing a 3-dimensional map of the local galaxy. What made the alien delegation gasp wasn't the technology, but what the map revealed. Hundreds of star systems were marked with human symbols, connected by trade routes and communication networks that spanned thousands of light years. "You want to know why no one returns from human space?" Hyun gestured to the star map, highlighting the vast network of human settlements. "It's not because we're monsters who destroy anyone who enters our territory. It's because we're paranoid." The briefing room door opened, and Captain Lee entered. She was older than Hyun, with silver streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Her presence immediately commanded respect, and even the alien delegation could sense the authority she carried. "Allow me to introduce Captain Lee, one of our senior strategic planners," Hyun said. "She can explain our philosophy better than I can." Lee activated the holographic display, showing detailed information about human colonies, military installations, and defense networks. Every human child learns military strategy before they learn mathematics. It's not because we love war, but because we understand that the universe is a dangerous place. The display shifted to show cross-sections of human colonies. What appeared to be peaceful farming communities revealed themselves to be fortress cities, with underground bunkers, hidden weapon systems, and civilian populations trained in combat tactics. "Every colony is a fortress," Lee continued. "Every civilian ship carries enough firepower to level a city. Every merchant vessel can transform into a warship within minutes. We've been watching your civilizations for centuries, learning your languages, studying your cultures, understanding your strengths and weaknesses." Ambassador Vextar's translator unit struggled to process the concept. The word paranoid didn't exist in most galactic languages, and the closest translations carried meanings of mental illness or irrational fear. "But why?" Vextar finally managed to ask. "Our records show that humans have never expanded beyond your original territory. You've never conquered other worlds or built an empire. If you have all this military power, why don't you use it?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Captain Lee and Commander Hyun exchanged glances, and something passed between them that the aliens couldn't interpret. "Because," Hyun said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of human philosophy, "the best war is the one you never have to fight." The silence that followed was different from before. This wasn't the shocked quiet of beings confronted, with superior firepower, but the thoughtful pause of minds trying to grasp a completely alien way of thinking. In a galaxy where might made right and the strong conquered the weak, the humans had chosen a different path entirely. They had become so strong that they never needed to prove it. The diplomatic meeting was proceeding smoothly until everything went horribly wrong in the span of 3 seconds. Commander Hyun was explaining human agricultural techniques when his communication device chirped with an urgent priority alert. The sound was soft, almost musical, but every human in the room immediately tensed like coiled springs. "Excuse me for a moment," Hyun said politely, stepping aside to receive the encrypted message. His face remained calm, but the alien delegation noticed his knuckles whitening as he gripped the device. What they didn't know was that Commander Keksavar of the Hegemony's Special Operations Division had decided to take matters into his own claws. While the diplomatic talks continued, he had launched a covert boarding operation against what appeared to be an unmanned human research station orbiting a nearby moon. His logic was simple: steal some human technology, analyze it quickly, and gain the upper hand in negotiations. It was the worst decision anyone had made in galactic history. The moment Keksavar's assault team breached the station's hull, every human facility within 50 light-years received the same message simultaneously. The alert traveled faster than light itself, carried by quantum communication networks that had been built over centuries of careful preparation. Hyun's expression remained perfectly neutral as he returned to the alien delegation. "I'm afraid there's been an incident. Some of your people have just attempted to board one of our research facilities." Ambassador Vextar's 4 eyes widened in horror. "Impossible. All our ships are accounted for. We agreed to peaceful contact." "Not all of them," Captain Lee said grimly, her fingers dancing across a holographic control panel. "My readings show a Hegemony stealth vessel, currently docked with Research Station Omega-7. They've breached the outer hull and are attempting to access our computer systems." The briefing room's main display activated, showing a real-time view of the station. The alien delegation watched in stunned silence as armored figures moved through the corridors, their weapons drawn and their intentions clear. "This is a rogue operation," Vextar protested. "I had no knowledge of this action. I can order them to withdraw immediately." "Too late," Hyun said quietly. "They've already triggered our security protocols." That's when the alarms began. The sound wasn't loud or harsh, but it carried a weight that made the aliens' blood run cold. It was the sound of a sleeping giant awakening, and it echoed across human space like a war cry. Every human facility, every ship, every colony received the same alert simultaneously. "Security breach, defensive posture authorized, all units respond." What happened next would be studied by military strategists for generations to come. The transformation began with the orbital stations around Earth. Peaceful research facilities suddenly sprouted weapon systems from hidden compartments. Solar collectors rotated to reveal massive energy cannons. Communication arrays reconfigured themselves into sensor networks capable of tracking objects across multiple star systems. Trade ships that had been following normal commercial routes suddenly changed course, their cargo holds opening to reveal fighter squadrons. Civilian vessels that looked like simple transport ships shed their outer hulls like molting insects, revealing sleek warships underneath. Mining colonies on distant asteroids launched clouds of automated defense drones. The machines moved with perfect coordination, their simple mining tools transforming into weapons of war. Rock haulers became missile platforms, excavation equipment became artillery. But the most terrifying part was the coordination. Millions of humans across hundreds of worlds responded as if they were a single organism. There was no confusion, no delay, no hesitation. Every person knew exactly what to do and where to go. June, a human tactical officer who had been quietly observing the meeting, guided the stunned alien delegation to an observation deck. Through the transparent aluminum windows, they could see the space around them filling with human ships. "How many vessels are responding?" asked the Aquatic Union representative, her biosuit sensors trying to count the approaching craft. "Currently, tracking approximately 12,000 ships within immediate response range," Jun replied calmly, checking his tactical display. That number will triple within the next few minutes as units from the outer colonies arrive. The alien delegation pressed against the windows, watching human ships move with impossible precision. Fighters danced between larger vessels in formations so tight that their hulls almost touched. Cruisers and battleships took positions that created overlapping fields of fire, covering every possible escape route. "Your fleet coordination is remarkable," admitted Commander Thex, his cybernetic enhancements recording everything. "But surely this is your full military response?" June laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "This is 1% of our defensive capability. We have contingency plans for contingency plans. What you're seeing now is just the first wave." To prove his point, he activated a galaxy-wide tactical display. The aliens watched in growing horror as human forces mobilized across hundreds of star systems. Sleeper agents activated on alien worlds. Hidden bases revealed themselves in empty space. Ships that had been disguised as civilian craft dropped their camouflage and showed their true military nature. "We've been preparing for this kind of scenario for over 3 centuries, June explained. Every human settlement has multiple defense plans. Every civilian has a military role. Every piece of technology serves a dual purpose." The demonstration reached its peak when the human fleet began moving in perfect synchronization. Thousands of ships accelerated simultaneously, their formation creating a sphere of metal and energy that surrounded the alien fleet completely. The maneuver was so complex that it should have taken hours to coordinate, but the humans accomplished it in minutes. "Estimated time to complete tactical dominance," June announced, 43 seconds. Before the aliens could process what that meant, the demonstration ended as suddenly as it had begun. The alarms stopped. The human ships returned to their normal positions. The weapon systems retracted. The orbital stations resumed their peaceful research activities. But the message was unmistakably clear. "The operation at the research station has been resolved," Hyun announced, returning to the briefing room. "The boarding party has been contained and will be returned to your fleet unharmed. However, I think you now understand why we take security so seriously." Ambassador Vextar stared at the tactical display, which still showed the positions of thousands of human ships. "How long did that take?" 7 minutes and 34 seconds, Captain Lee replied. "We've been practicing." The alien delegation exchanged glances, finally understanding the terrible truth. Humanity hadn't just prepared for war, they had turned their entire civilization into a weapon, and every human was a soldier in the greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen. The scariest part wasn't their power, it was their restraint. The alien fleet hung in space like wounded animals, their once proud vessels now bearing scorch marks and damaged hull plating from the brief but overwhelming demonstration of human power. Emergency lights flickered across their bridges as repair crews worked frantically to fix systems that had been overloaded by the sheer intensity of human targeting arrays. Ambassador Vextar stood on the observation deck of the Eternal Dominion, staring out at the human ships that still surrounded them in perfect formation. His 4 golden eyes had lost their earlier arrogance, replaced by something closer to wisdom, born from terror. The other alien commanders moved quietly through the corridors, their voices hushed as if speaking too loudly might provoke another demonstration. "Sir," his tactical officer approached cautiously, "the human commander Hyun is requesting permission to come aboard. He says he has something important to discuss before we depart." Vextar nodded slowly. "Grant him access to Hangar Bay 3, and tell the crew to show proper respect. We are no longer dealing with primitives." When Hyun's shuttle docked with the alien flagship, Vextar was surprised to see that the human commander had brought someone unexpected. Walking beside Hyun was a figure that made Vextar's blood run cold with recognition. "Impossible," Vextar whispered. "Ambassador Park." The being that stepped forward was unmistakably Zephyrian, one of Vextar's own species, but he wore the clean uniform of human diplomatic service. Park had been part of the first expedition to human space over 50 years ago, a brilliant young explorer who had volunteered to make contact with the mysterious species. His ship had never returned, and he had been presumed dead. "Hello, old friend," Park said in perfect galactic standard, though his accent had changed subtly over the decades. "You look well, considering the circumstances." Vextar's mind reeled. "You're alive. You've been alive all this time. Why didn't you return? Why didn't you send word?" Park gestured to his human uniform, the diplomatic insignia catching the light. "Because I chose to stay, just like the others." "Others?" Vextar's voice cracked. Commander Hyun activated a holographic display that showed dozens of individuals from various species, all wearing human diplomatic uniforms. Every expedition that has entered human space faced the same choice, Ambassador. Park did. Some chose to return to their people and report what they had seen. Others chose to remain and help us maintain the balance. Vextar studied the faces in the display. He recognized several of them, explorers and diplomats who had disappeared over the centuries. "You chose to stay," he said slowly, the full weight of understanding settling on him. Park nodded gravely. "We all did. Those who witness what humanity truly represents face the same choice you're facing now. Return home and risk a war that would consume the galaxy, or become guardians of this secret." The implications hit Vextar like a physical blow. The reports that made it back to the Council, the few survivors who claimed to have escaped human space by luck or accident, carefully orchestrated, Hyun confirmed. "We allowed certain individuals to return with limited information, just enough to maintain the mystery, but not enough to reveal the truth. The galaxy needed to fear human space, but not understand it." Vextar looked around the hangar bay, noting the human security personnel who stood at respectful attention. They weren't guards or captors, but they were undeniably present. "But why do humans allow this? Why let aliens live among you, knowing your secrets?" Commander Hyun approached them, his expression thoughtful. "Because we learned long ago that the strongest fortress is the one nobody wants to attack. The galaxy stays peaceful because you fear what you don't understand about us. But fear alone isn't enough. We need allies who understand both sides." Park placed a clawed hand on Vextar's shoulder. "The humans didn't conquer us or brainwash us. They simply showed us the truth about the universe. There are things out there, Vextar. Things moving in the dark spaces between galaxies. Humanity isn't just defending themselves. They're defending all of us." "What do you mean?" Vextar asked, though part of him dreaded the answer. Hyun activated another display, this one showing the edge of the galaxy where ancient sensors detected strange movements in the void. "We've been monitoring signals from beyond our galaxy for centuries. Something is coming, something that makes our little political squabbles look like children's games. When that day arrives, the galaxy will need humanity at full strength." The Sioux display showed massive shapes moving through the darkness, entities so large they dwarfed entire star systems. The sensors couldn't make out details, but the implications were clear. Humanity wasn't just preparing for war with known species, they were preparing for something far worse. "So you see," Park continued, "our choice isn't really about loyalty to our birth species versus loyalty to humanity. It's about loyalty to life itself." Vextar stared at the display for long minutes, his mind processing everything he had learned. His fleet was damaged, his crew was traumatized, and his superiors expected a full report about human capabilities. He could return to the Galactic Council and tell them everything, potentially triggering a war that would weaken the galaxy just when it needed to be strongest. Or he could make the same choice that Park and dozens of others had made. "My fleet," Vextar said finally. "My crew, they've seen too much. Some will choose to stay," Hyun said gently. "Others will return home with carefully edited memories. We have technology that can help with that. No one will be harmed, but the secret must be protected." Vextar looked at his old friend Park, seeing the peace in his eyes despite the terrible knowledge he carried. "And my report to the Council?" "Navigation error," Park suggested with a slight smile. "Quantum storm interference. Equipment malfunction. The galaxy is full of dangerous phenomena that can destroy entire fleets without a trace." 3 days later, a single damaged vessel limped back to Galactic Council space. Ambassador Vextar, looking older and more tired than when he had left, delivered his report to the assembled representatives. Operation Revelation had been a complete disaster. The fleet had been caught in an unprecedented quantum storm at the edge of human space. Most ships were lost, and the survivors had barely escaped with their lives. The Council accepted the report with expressions of sympathy and regret. The human mystery would remain unsolved for another generation, exactly as it was meant to be. Meanwhile, in human space, Ambassador Park worked alongside his human colleagues to monitor the galaxy's borders. The ancient sensors continued their vigil, watching for signs of movement in the darkness beyond the stars. When the time came when the real threat finally arrived, the galaxy would be ready. Some secrets were worth keeping, and some guardians were worth trusting. The galaxy slept peacefully, protected by the very species it feared to disturb, never knowing that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology, but their willingness to shoulder the burden of protection without recognition or thanks. In the depths of space, beyond the reach of any known civilization, ancient things stirred in the darkness, but they would find no easy prey when they finally arrived. Humanity was watching, waiting, and ready to defend not just their own species, but every living thing in the galaxy that had chosen peace over conquest. The end.